Hi, everyone. We are getting close to Selichot now, and so Rosh Hashanah and the High Holy Days are almost upon us. So I want to share a little story from, of course, one of my favorite High Holy Day books with the best cover ever. This is real, and you were completely unprepared. And then I'll share a little personal story of my own. So this is a story, a Hasidic story of the Baal Shem Tov, and you'll find it in chapter 5 of this book if you have it at home. So every year before the High Holy Days, the Baal Shem Tov would hold auditions for shofar blowers. And to be the best shofar blower, you had to memorize a series of kavanot, of phrases and secret words that were supposed to unlock the spiritual power of your shofar ram's horn blasts. And so the Baal Shem Tov would sit as person after person would come and audition before him, reciting all of these complex, multi-layered phrases and kavanot. And one guy had practiced for years and years and years and was coming before the Baal Shem Tov to audition. And he comes before him ready, and his mind goes blank. He chokes. He can't remember anything. And he's standing there utterly defeated, completely incompetent. And finally, in the midst of his silence, when he realizes how awfully he has choked, how awfully he has completely failed this test, he bursts into sobs and is just racked with grief. All right, the Baal Shem Tov says, "You're hired." And the shofar blower says, "What? How is this possible? I couldn't even remember one kavanah." And the Baal Shem Tov says, let me tell you a little parable. The king had a palace, and to go into each chamber of the palace, you had to have all of the keys to every subsequent door and chamber. But if you don't have your set of keys, if you don't have access to the keys, there's one thing that cuts through everything, and that is the axe, which can break down every door. And in this case, to get to the space of God, the space of true Kedusha and holiness, the axe that you have, the axe that we all have, is our broken hearts. That can cut us straight there to the experience, to the divine presence that we're seeking. So I shared this story because it reminded me of my own story of preparing actually to give birth to my firstborn, Rafi, who you'll hear about in some of these videos. I'm a type A learner kind of person. So when I was preparing to give birth to Rafi, I took all the classes, I signed up for all the trainings, I practiced my breathing techniques. I really thought, okay, great. I remember the teacher saying, you shouldn't even think about it as pushing. You just use your breath and the baby will just naturally come down. And they had us practice for the pain of contractions and labor by holding ice cubes in your hand and, seeing what mental practices and mindfulness techniques could help you get through the pain or the discomfort of holding a melting ice cube. And I, in my chutzpah, thought, okay, great, I'm ready for childbirth, even though, they don't exactly make it look easy in the movies. I think I'll be fine. So when we got to the fateful day in December, things were going great. I was kneading challah at home, feeling pretty good. Everything was pretty manageable. Even when we got to the hospital, contractions coming closer together, I thought, okay, I'm rocking this. This is going really well. But when it came time to push, I realized things were going off the rails. And I found that pushing for me was neither easy nor intuitive, as some of my coaches had led me to believe. And my nurses, God bless them, told me kindly but very firmly that screaming my head off at the top of my lungs was just expending all of my energy, but not actually bringing the baby any closer to coming into the world. So I pushed for 3 hours with little to no progress, getting more and more exhausted. And my anxiety started to go up, and I realized I need help. I don't know how to do this. All of my preparation has not prepared me for this moment at all. And there was a nurse, to this day, I don't know what her name was, but she came into the delivery room around 4 a.m. She had just finished up with another delivery and just stopped by my room to give the other nurses a break, and then realized, oh, I'm needed in this situation. And afterwards, I called her the closer. She had this personality of a high school gym teacher. And she approached me with confidence and real clarity and told me exactly what to do and exactly what not to do. And I found myself giving myself over to her wisdom and expertise and letting myself be coached and guided, knowing there was no way I was going to get through this by my own virtues and intelligence alone. So an hour later, Rafi came into the world, cone-headed from spending so long in the birth canal, but alive and healthy and gorgeous. This experience of vulnerability, like what I imagined the shofar blower in front of the Baal Shem Tov experienced when he realized his own inadequacy for the task at hand, and this experience of being dependent on another person will stay with me forever. And I think for us, for each of us, there is a critical move that has to happen as we enter into the High Holy Days, the breaking down of the defenses we put up, of the sense of independence that we walk along in the world, completely dependent on ourselves. We have to break down that shield to a certain degree and know we can't do everything on our own. We have to ultimately see ourselves as part of a much larger whole, as just these broken hearts moving through the world as beautifully as we can, as incompetently as we can. And this is what Selichot is about. This is about realizing our own humanity, our own brokenness, and then coming to Rosh Hashanah whole and broken and whole at the same time. Shana Tova.